Today, I'm sharing an interview I did with Dr. Hema. We discussed all things exercise, especially over the age of 50. It was such a fun conversation. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
Are you struggling to keep your head above water and brushing aside how you physically feel? You know you need to do something to feel better, but what? Nothing's working, and you're about to give up. I hear ya. I'm Jolene, a nutritional therapy practitioner, a wife, and a furry guardian. Like you, I let my work and everything else get in the way of health, often chasing skinny instead of health until I learned how the body worked. Welcome to Holistic Health Made Simple, where I share all the tips, tricks, and science to set you free from the overwhelm of diet culture and frustration with the ever-changing health rules, going beyond the calorie and diet dogma to equip you to be healthy through simple changes to food, mindset, and lifestyle. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and learn how to feel better with changes that work for you, results that are undeniable like more energy, improved mood, better sleep, and fat loss, this is the podcast for you. Pop in those headphones, take a deep breath, and let's get healthy.
Hello, welcome to Dr. Hema. Please introduce yourself and tell the audience what you do, and then we'll dive into all the exercise and fun stuff that a lot of us in our middle age don't like to do, but we really need it.
Yeah, thanks, Jolie. No one likes to do exercise, just a factoid there, simple fact of life. So I'm Dr. Hema, and I help women over 50 who have pain issues to get rid of their pain. I've been doing that for over 20 years. I do that online through a combination of assessment, determining what the individual needs and what's missing in their life. And so I supply them with a few easy ways to put that back in, whatever that may be. For each individual is completely different. So it could be exercise, it could be nutrition, it could be movement, it could be just stress management, it could be sleep. So just depending on what vector I find from their assessment online. So basically a lot of happy clients later. Women over 50 have a big social circle. Their activities are kind of combined with their social circle. So if you miss out because you've got an injury, if you've got pain, you've got knee pain, shoulder pain, hip pain, whatever it may be, you're just missing out on life and they're miserable. So I get rid of that, get them back into the game, and they're off to the races.
Awesome. So how did you get started in this? I'd like to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so I'm an aerospace engineer by training, and I have a PhD in aerospace engineering. I was working in the field, and I still am. The point being is that at some point I realized, stress management was great if I did run or whatever activities I wanted to do. Found out that, sometimes you can get pain issues from just picking yourself up and running and not doing any kind of prep or dealing with any kind of issues that come from running or looking at your whole picture, what you're doing. So to deal with those pain issues, I figured out ways to solve those myself. I did the traditional methodology, went to a gym, tried to get all kinds of help of fitness professionals to try to do it. And also I did the usual route of, when you're saddled with pain, they send you to all kinds of people, physiotherapists, chiropractors, and I think I had a physiotherapist and a massage therapist actually in that group. So basically, these are the specialized people who deal with that's their thing. They deal with those kinds of issues, pain issues, or whatever's ailing you physically. They will look at it and figure out a strategy to help you. And I found that their methodologies would be Band-Aid fixes at the time. And this is all very specific to the people I went to and the whatever treatment they have. It's no general statements here. But basically the platform that I was sent on to get the help to recover and to get back into my game. And so that was also a very first aha moment, people who are saddled with some kind of an offset of pain, their physical thing will suffer. And then, the whole reason for doing that was so I can get, some steam out and so I can be more productive at work. I mean, the end goal for everyone is, as I said before, it's not exercise, not an end in itself. It's a path too. And so, we're all stressed out with all kinds of stuff, different people for different strokes for different people. And you just want to get off whatever's ailing you out, into the space, and then just get back into the game, get on the saddle and get going with your day. Serve the world the way you want to and just be a happy camper. But so when you're saddled with pain, that doesn't really happen. So what I did was, through the course of just self study and analysis and starting to take some courses and trying to figure out what the physiology, the anatomy, the human kinetics, the motion, the movement analysis, just study as much as I could from reputable people, figured out what was the real deal in terms of education and where I could get it. So I just did that and slowly just built up my credentials and solved my problems first, discovered what was missing, what I needed to do, and have that knowledge base. And then I realized that, of course, once activity struck, that might come back. And so when it did reoccur, I was able to solve my problems. Then I said, okay, well, this is actually modality, because I could see my friends undergoing the same routine with the same kind of a Ferris wheel type of approach that I went through. And I thought, this, got to put a kibosh in this. I got to put a pin in it and figure out if I can solve serving these clients and this whole demographic of people who kind of undercut by the fitness industry at the time. I mean, now there's all kinds of aging programs and blah, blah, blah. But at the time I was doing this, like 80s, 90s, early 2000s, as I was trying to build up my repertoire, solve the problem, and then help my friends, there was no formalized training for trainers to really address the issues of this particular demographic of women over 50 who have pain issues, not from aging, but from activity. So that's a little kind of a niche market in itself. It's not an aging issue. It's a issue because these, although they could be related, but mostly it was because it ferreted out issues because they were active. So horseback riding, golfing, tennis, whatever, walking the dog, just being active and doing all the things they would do, ferreted out pain issues that needed to be addressed so they could get back in the game and their mental health would not suffer. So that's my short story. So I developed the credentials, developed a fitness business, and then helped women. And now hundreds of clients later, I see that this is a real need. And so that's how that developed.
Awesome. No, it's definitely a real need. And it's funny because I obviously never heard your backstory. And I'm finding there's more and more of us who pivoted our careers later in life because we needed to find something that wasn't there and help those that were before us. Like, I worked in a very stressful career. I mean, obviously aerospace is incredibly stressful, and oftentimes we're not told to take care of ourselves the way that we need to at that time. So I always find that those that made that pivot because of something in their past are way more passionate about what they do. So I love that whole part of it. And yeah, definitely those that are active, so much of aging or aches and pains that we get when we used to be able to do things and we can't now, is chalked up to aging. But is it really aging? Or is it just they don't want to be bothered with us because they think we're older? Like it doesn't matter.
It is a huge proportion of the population, and I hate to refer to an iconic thing, but I noticed this in the Golden Bachelor the other day, that new demographic that they're addressing, these women came to talk about their thing, and one of the refrains I heard from each, I mean, it's comical because people sit down and watch and all of this, but underneath that comedy, a professional like myself whose demographic is this, who wants to seek always to understand all aspects of it so that I can serve my clientele better, heard a refrain from those women who came at the end and said, we are not going to be ignored anymore. And each woman, when they were interviewed or had the opportunity to speak, I could hear this refrain as a chorus from them all saying, we feel unattended to in general. I mean, our families attend to us as a placeholder of a thing, but we are people too. And I heard that refrain. So that was funny because that really echoed with, or just kind of really meshed with my kind of motto, which is why I started the business, was that I felt, and I was a lot younger at the time when I started this, but still felt that the female demographic, like forget the age group. I mean, now things are different, so I'm not going to comment on today's, but when I was developing all of this, like the 80s, 90s, and into 2000s, especially in the 90s, there was a very little very little information, number one. Number two, attention. Trainers were almost into the kind of really just strength training kind of a persona, and they did not really attend to the women's strength training programs that didn't really need to be that different, but their mental space kind of went in that direction, that they thought something different needed. Now we know it's not the case. I mean, women and men can train together, but today's knowledge base is so much wider too. But just in those days, the attitude was a little different. And even today, I notice, and not to be, very generalistic here, I'm sure there's lots of very good professionals in all fields. So I'll just caveat that right out. But the problem is that in general, you will find bifurcations of each division. For example, to me, fitness is one, and to you, probably it's the same thing. Fitness is fitness. Fitness is a person starts from point A, where their ability to do certain thing is underneath where they want it to be. And then they go to point B, and they a professional develops a plan for them, makes that point B practical, first of all. So maybe they should get a better sense of what that is. And let's say like he wants to run a marathon or she wants to run a marathon. So let's get from A to B. You're not there yet, but let's get you there, B. Okay, so now people need to fill in that with the proper training, but that could be anything. That could be 100 million things on the planet. That training could be your Peloton, it could be your cycling, indoor cycling, it could be, swimming, it could be racquetball, it could be Pilates, yoga. Like there's so many ways you can get there. But the one size fits all mentality makes it easier for fitness professional to dole out. And so that was the case a while back. And so
I actually found that when I was trying to get fit, it was always one size fits all. And for women, sometimes it's hard to get there, to get started.
Yeah, and even inside the fitness industry, there was this bifurcation of domains. Group fitness would not talk to personal trainers, weight trainers, because each group the group fitness training felt that the personal trainers were arrogant. I'm just calling it like it is. This is the way I saw it. And the personal trainers thought group fitness was fluff. Now, you're going to call it fluff if there is, let's just, hypothesize here, if there was a really overweight woman who has been tending to her family over the course of time. That's how she got overweight. She got sedentary because she no longer has to do the things she used to do when she was a young mother. Let's just hypothesize here. And the only thing she can do is shuffle back at the back of the group fitness class. I will give her a gold star. And to me, she's just as strong as Arnold Schwarzenegger doing his reps, because she took the step to her max ability. If that's the shuffling she's going to do, she's going to grow. She does that once a week. The fact that she got into the car, got herself to a group fitness class, stood at the back with all kinds of intimidation in the front, with instructor included, because there was a time when instructors were intimidating. It's not the case.
Oh, yeah.
Now. Yeah. And so I almost said at one point, and when I started my company, I said to myself, unfortunately, it's the fitness professional that's the problem. The industry is causing more problem. I mean, and now we're trying to hack away at those stereotypes, but this is a never-ending problem because the stereotypes got lodged into people's psyche. Instagram is not helping with the non-professionals professing knowledge. And so this is the dichotomy stage we're at now, whereas women in, sticking to that demographic, are up against a lot of things, body image being one of them. And a lot of the times my clients, all they need is an understanding voice. And I may give, maybe I'll give the same information, but I'll give it to them from their point of view. In other words, I'm very empathic to their situation. If today's a day where it's laundry and shopping day, please go ahead and do it. But I will help you figure out how your fitness modality can fit into your laundry and shopping day, rather than you saying, no laundry and shopping for you, sister. You got to go and do your reps in the gym. Like, what mother is going to do that, or grandmother is going to do that? No.
Well, in our demographic, a lot of them are sandwiched. Like, today is my dad day. I have a 92-year-old dad. So my brother and I both take care of him. He lives with my brother, so I go up there. So You'll see different backgrounds sometimes with me because it depends on where I am. And then there's others that are taking care of aging parents as well as aging kids. And you've got 20-year-old fitness influencers because they're not trainers, they're not nutritionists, they don't really have anything other than that they did it, which isn't to discount that, but a 20-year-old telling a 50, 60, 70-year-old what to do isn't realistic.
No,
it doesn't
it's
work
not.
the same. It doesn't
Right,
work the
exactly.
same.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what you do at 50 won't work the same at 60 or 70 even. Like, you gotta learn, and I don't know if like you can gear the exercise and start slow. Like I don't know if you're at all like me, like, because I was active when I was younger. So every time I tried to get back into fitness on something new, my old stuff is fine. But if I tried something new, like, okay, I'm gonna do this 75 hard, I always end up hurting myself because I still think I could do what I did when I was younger. And I think someone like you probably tells people, take it slow, start
Oh,
slow.
yeah. In fact, it turns out, and you hit the nail right on the head, is that the fact is that as we age, it's not so much the understanding of what your program is, because when you're younger, what's my program? And that's what the fitness person will do. And most of the time, to be honest, it's a cookie cutter program that he gave the last 10 clients that they saw. But the point being here is that it's not the program as much as the mental space. And mindset becomes a very pivoting trigger in the fitness journey. First of all, as you grow, a fact of life is as you age or as you grow older, like even from 10 to 20, to age 10 to age 20, stress increases because the number of things you have to keep in your mind at any given time, the number of people you know, the number of places, the number of items remembered that has to happen during the day just increases. So mental space and bandwidth just becomes very, has to be economic. And so you end up dropping things that aren't necessary. So one of the things is that if you have immediate family needs, like you're talking about obligations, those grow with that demographic. So the family obligations and the whole social space obligations grow exponentially in that demographic. They're exponentially larger at over 50 than they were when you were 30. And so that's just a fact of life. So taking that into consideration, my model is your life, your world here in your circle, and all the people you serve and all the things you have to do for work and social life. You have to fit the fitness into that world and figure out where in that world can you piece. First of all, there's no one size fits all. So what does the individual need? You have to assess them on they're people, they're human beings with all kinds of different circumstances than each person you saw before. Each client comes and presents with totally different parameters. Now, some of them are common, but not all. So you have to take that as an individual and say, if you get up at 4 because you have to do something for someone and that's your responsibility and that's what you're going to do, and you have to figure out that this person's going to be a dead dog by the time it's 7 p.m. So don't stick them in a training program at 7 p.m. and say, okay, you could just do that before you go to bed. What's wrong with you? So that's the fitness industry's idea. My idea is you got a life, you got to live it. Why do you even need to entertain people like you or myself in your life? Because you want to do that better. You want to go to your grandkids' home and pick them up and do whatever you need to do and spend valuable time, not time saying, oh, I can't even see, it's like, where is this? Like, I'm tired. I can't see what's going on here. Like, who are these people kind of thing. You want to be alive and vibrant for them and provide them with your being very present. So you want to use these as tools: nutrition, fitness, physical exercise, nutrition, stress management, sleep, and all these things that you need. Why do you pay attention to them? So you can serve your world better. So the bottom line is, you 2.0, basically, how do you make yourself the best version of yourself so that you can serve all the things you do that give you happiness, the feedback of seeing, what you're saying is spending dad time. Okay, well, that gives you some element of feedback of happiness. So the you in that loop has to be functioning at a good quality. So you would do whatever you need to do, and that's the fitness professional's job, to figure out what that black box is for you, for Jolene, and then you have to figure out what it is individualized, so that in the minimum amount of time, so you're not doing reps and lifting weights to lift weights, because that's a whole different demographic of people, and Arnold Schwarzeneggers, they're just very different, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's your hobby, that's your thing. In fact, I get a high, but it's only after the few exercises.
Exactly.
To get into it first, I had to play my music, get into the
It's
whole.
that whole mindset of getting, like, it's like getting there, and then once you start doing it, you're like, okay, now I feel better. It's relieving the stress, but it's getting there.
Oh yeah,
It's
so
getting
I have
that
a lot
first step.
Yeah, and I have a lot of tricks to do that. So just as an I don't know a lot of fitness professionals who actually enjoy, the actual workout. I mean, they just love helping people, and they know enough. So they've got the knowledge base to get people into the zone where they need to be, and they love helping people. And that's the two qualities. But the thing is about themselves is that they run out of gas, because they sometimes can't follow their own instructions of self-care and don't get enough sleep, just because their training world is that's another total bucket of fish there. But the thing is that, just prescribing things to get people to exercise. Now, I know, as I just said, even the fitness professional doesn't want it. So I've got a few tricks that I could share with your audience. The first thing is,
Sorry, please.
Okay, so the first thing is it's a mental block that we have to get over. In other words, we have to grab our why and just hold on to it for dear life, because I know that if I don't do the programs that are required of me, and I've figured out for myself and done and set out for myself, if I don't do those, I feel horrible, and I don't like feeling horrible. So, and B, so you got to remember that, though. I mean, when it's my time, like that's another trick I'm going to talk about later, this time thing, carving. But you got to remember that. So when the time hits, you got to say to yourself, hey, do you want to hear horrible? No. Okay, then, you got to have that inner conversation with yourself. Not as dramatic as that, but, you got to do that. But
Sometimes it is, though.
That's true. And then the second thing is that you're doing it, that why is to feel better. But the second why is that all your moving parts have to function. And there's only way you can do that is to grease it. And the only way you can grease it is to do your program. So, suck it up, buttercup, that could be something you say to yourself. But so that's number one. But now the trick. Okay, so you admit to yourself, got to do the workout, and you may roll your eyeballs and go, but you got to make it into a ritual. Now, a lot of people love, now that's becoming a common thing. A lot of people love their meditation and their yoga rituals. That's becoming a thing now. It used to be a very small segment of the population that did that. Now it's becoming more common to people to, create time space in the morning. I see this all the time with people in their 20s and 30s actually carving out 5-10 minutes to just zen out, kind of, that's their word for it, their buzzword, but to meditate and just try to figure themselves out a little bit, spend some me time, just carve out the 5-10 minutes in the morning to do that. So carving out time is a thing. It's a concept that they've kind of wrapped their head around. Okay, if that's true, then you've got to look coldly at your schedule. Like, just be totally brutally honest with yourself. So pick a day of the week when you sit down with yourself and look at your week schedule, like just map it out. They do this with other things, with their children's program activities, with, their whatever family obligations, with their outside obligations, with their work obligations, their own travel time, their own needs, whatever needs to be done for the house and stuff like that. So you might as well put in whatever fitness needs you need. Now, a trainer can tell you, for example, if you're in the category of maybe just needing twice a week, depending upon who you are, what your personality is, what your needs are, a trainer can tell you what's the minimum amount of time you had to work out per week. And so that's an important assessment that you need to go. First thing is look at your timetable so you can offer the trainer, what times you have. Well, how much time do you have? So when you go to a professional, you can say, hey, look, realistically, this is my world. I have, an hour, maybe 2 days of the week. And I know I don't live near a gym. I'm, strapped for time. I'm stressed, got a big, heavy job load and kid load and so on. So tell me what I got to do to get, keep on this Ferris wheel of life. So they can sit with you and figure out what's the minimum thing you need to do, because each person is different. So this one size fits all modality, unfortunately, along with the body image thing, has stuck with our population because we grew up with, checkout stand magazines that had, try this ab workout. I got to tell you, honestly, there's no such thing. And it's just a myth. You cannot target one part of your body. It's the whole body has to get in the action. And common sense, you and I can sit here and know that. But, when you're strapped for time and your clothes aren't fitting, you don't want to spend any more money on clothes, and you're also got meetings coming up or parties coming up or family coming up, that's looking really good because you're weak, you're hungry, you're at the checkout stand, and I'll do this ab workout. Unfortunately, she never does it because but she unfortunately put out the dough to buy that magazine. God gypped for that. And if she ever did it, she'd be in pain and she'd be in the doctor's office because usually those are really bad. Yeah, so bad advice all around. So those are myth-busting things that we have to fight against. Is a person who's fit doesn't look a certain way. It could look like 100 different ways. That depends on who you are and where you're starting. Like I said about the overweight mom who's been sedentary for a long time. If she's shuffling at the back of the class, she's just as fit as Arnold Schwarzenegger, because it's all relative of where you're starting. That's her level of fitness. And kudos to her, but this is often overlooked, that you have to look a certain way, or that, this is what you need to do. So fitting in something at home workout is what I do. The second thing I do advise is, so totally looking at your time, talking to a fitness professional, what's the minimum I need? Where am I? Where I need to go? Got that. Now, how do you get yourself to an at-home workout? Let's say the trainer says, you don't have to waste time driving again, because that's going to just not be a thing. I can create a corner space in your home somewhere where you're undisturbed, put on some tunes, make sure you got your favorite playlist. So once, 2 tricks, get yourself to that area, that dedicated area. Don't create the whole house as a workout area. Don't stagger your dumbbells around. There's an area in your house, which is a workout area. That's where the tunes are. So you have to go there first and play the tunes. And then I always tell everybody, including myself, get past the warm-up and then decide. So the warm-up will usually be about 4 movement pieces that warm up the body that I give all my clients. And the time that the warm-up segment takes is normally about 5 minutes, maybe 10 max, depending upon the human being. Again, depends on the person who's involved, but max 10 minutes. So you're listening to your tunes. It's a 10-minute tune listen break. Don't think of it as your workout. Okay, I'm going to go upstairs. And there's this thing, I got to also put a caveat about clothes. Now, people are intimidated about buying fitness clothes. There's 2 populations. One is people who are intimidated by buying fitness clothes because it, very hip hugging and skin tightening kind of clothes that show where you're not a runway model. And nobody wants to be a runway model. We all know that world is totally messed up. So
I lived it. I mean, I was not a runway model, but I was in fashion for years. You do not want to be a model. They are miserable.
Thanks for answering that. It's just totally, let's not even go there. They're on a different unhealthy planet like you wouldn't believe. But parking that, so my advice is to just wear loungewear. Why don't you just wear your pajamas for one thing? I mean, as long as they're not getting caught in something.
In your way.
They don't have dangly ties or something. But if it's comfortable, like just wear loungewear. Like that's my thing, because you're going to be in loungewear in the evening anyway, like for dinner and feeding your kids and whatever you got to
And
do.
there's nobody looking at you because you're at home. Like there's been times where I've just had like I had like a dress I had put on, like a t-shirt dress. I'm like, oh, I could do some squats and do this. I'm like, who's gonna care about my butt? There's nobody looking at me. Like
Exactly
you
my
don't really
point.
even need you don't really
That's
need to even
it.
be dressed.
So that's one less excuse you have, because a lot of people say, I don't have the energy to go wear my workout clothes. And I'm saying, I don't want you to wear, if you're in loungewear at home in the evening, I'm not going to sweat you so that you're a marathoner. You know, you're going to sweat buckets and take another shower. I mean, if you do, you just take another shower, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I'm just going to put you through some motion that will help you to be more mobile, more strong. Those are the kinds of things. And the third piece of this puzzle that will help people is that just remember how you feel at the end, because I guarantee with any of my workouts that everyone I know, including myself, you feel great at the end. You feel like I'm on top of Mount Everest. Hey, everyone, you know, and then you go, I can conquer my world. I got this. You know, I can do anything I want. So I think those are the three pieces of the puzzle. One is get real. Talk to a professional. So with your realistic assessment of where you are in your life, don't fit your fitness into your life. Don't let people say this has got to be number one. Just figure out where you've got some time, even if it's, you know, half an hour. I got a half an hour on Saturday. Fine, let me put it in there, you know, and then talk to a trainer and tell them what you've got to work with, and then let them say, okay, let me do an assessment, and then I'll put both of those pieces together. Your assessment will tell the trainer what you need to get to your goal. So that'll be a discussion, a whole big thing about where you are, your goal, what you want to do, what is it that you can't do right now that you feel you want to be able to do. Those are the missing pieces that they need to know. Then they'll do a motion assessment. They'll watch you. They'll see how your body works. And I do this all through Zoom, and I tape them and I figured it out. It's just, I've got so many case studies, like I've got hundreds of case studies that I know how to do this through online, but some people can go with you in person too, and you can do an assessment with them in person, let them figure out, and then let them figure out how this is going to fit into your current schedule so that you don't miss a beat on life and that you don't have to give up anything. And we all know from, you know, the nutrition point that you don't have to give up anything. You can fit everything into your, exactly. And be happy, because happiness is the end result of personal training or fitness. It should not be the other way around.
Do you recommend, okay, this is going to come from, do you recommend people being a lot more realistic in what their goals really are? Because I think a lot of people think, oh, fitness, I need to get skinny, I need to get toned, I need to do this. But I look at it more of, especially over 50, I mean, I'm in the over 50 club too, is it's not about the appearance anymore. It's about being strong, being mobile, and being able to do things without injury, or, you know, lifting groceries. You know, I'm one of those. I like to bring all the groceries in at once, but am I strong enough to do that? Like things like that. I mean, is that, and how do you suggest people to look for somebody who's realistic like that? Because there's not many. Most people are like, oh, well, you got to do this and you got to do that to look this way or fit in those jeans, when it's really shouldn't be about that anymore. It should be about being the healthiest mobile person you are now, like into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. That's excellent, because really that's where the mindset whole piece is. Now, the job of the trainer, which is not overtly talked about much, but should be, but it is one of the first jobs, as I said early, is that create a practical assessment and a practical mindset to the client, that's, you know, potential client that's going to approach you with their issues, is to be the voice of reason, be the knowledge base, and say, and also nothing is impossible. I mean, you know, when you say want to fit into whatever, you know, clothes that I had a while ago that I'm not because I was sedentary, or, you know, whatever aging happened in between, or, you know, for whatever reason, let's just park that. But the thing is that you say, I have a dress I want to fit into for this event that's coming up. Now, the first thing I tell a client is that's totally possible. Everything you want is possible, but it's the timeline. So there's two things. You can either change the goal or the timeline, and just, you know, make that more reasonable. So for example, let's say I want to, I mean, I'm a PhD in aerospace engineering. Suppose I want to design an aircraft. God knows I can. That's my training. But the thing is, what's the timeline for me to sit here? Like, suppose I start right after we finish our conversation.
Mhm.
So the practicality, just because you have the knowledge and the ability, doesn't mean the practicality will determine the timeline of that thing. Could be a little more time than is required by your own mindset. So one of the first things that people have to wrap their mind around is the timeline that's involved for something. What other obligations does the person have in their life? You know, this is why the piece of the life puzzle has to be solved first. And
Yeah.
that rationality and that realistic look, you know, gives them that realistic understanding of, you know, and that's the other thing that they will solve through that, is that why am I like I am? Like a lot of people are disappointed. As I can refer to before, is the constant bombarding of image, body image, and incorrect notion of, as you point out, there is no one fitness model, fitness status that looks physically in a certain way. In fact, I have a handout that people want if they want that how a certain weight. I have this handout where a certain weight can look 3 different ways. A same person, a
I
same weight.
love it.
Yeah,
I will get
and
that link for you. I'll make sure that's in the notes. But you just reminded me of something in you know how we connected. You've heard this saying, we can only control the effort. We cannot control the outcome. You know, like we might want to reach there, but we can only control the effort we put in to get there.
path. Yeah, I mean, so I mean, this happens to, if anybody's traveled, they know this, you know, because you say, oh, can I get in? It's just one plane. I'm taking only one plane to get from here to there. It's got to be easy as pie. And you'll know that what happens to that one plane, that could be 3 planes because that one plane never made it. So you end up
Exactly.
being, you know, welcome to a city you didn't know you were going to stay overnight in, you know, so the path is what we have control. It's just you put it really well. It's the path, but we can keep the goal in mind and reassess. You know, we can reassess the path, and that's what the professional is about. So I think what happened along the way, or maybe from the get-go, is the role of the fitness professional got misdefined in the get-go, because they all saw it as, you're going to write me a program that I can never do, that I think is impossible, that doesn't fit into my schedule, that doesn't take into account any of the fact that I've never lifted a weight in my life or done a fitness class in my life. You know, if I prescribe a group fitness, for example, and they've never stepped into it, oh, forget that. It's not going to happen. Just, you can put money down that that girl's not going to go to that class. So all of that is not taken into account. So they're not people who write up prescriptions blindly. I might as well be blindfolded if that's what's happening. And just, you know, for the last 10 clients, okay, you can have that one, the same one. You know, it could do that, but that's not the goal. The goal is that it's a very hard problem to solve. I want to go from A to B. It's like seeing a travel agent, you know, if this is
I want to go from here to here.
right?
But everybody thinks it's a straight line when it kind of goes like this. Or
Yeah,
up and
because life gets in the way is what they say, but to me, life is life. You got to fit this into your life. You got to massage it in. And so if your week is really bombarded with meetings, with, you know, obligations, with your social life, which you should never you know, kind of challenge your social life and say, I'm gonna get rid of one thing in order to go to the gym.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that should ever happen to anybody on the planet. That's just rude. And that's just the whole reasoning. It's like the cart before the horse kind of thing. You get a little more fit so you can do all the things, and as you pointed out, have energy to do all the things without hurting part of your body. So as you point out, you know, you said it in jest, but I have clients who have taken groceries out of their car, got hurt, called me, we set up a program, got rid of what's going on with them, what muscles were not firing. Okay, your program isn't addressing that, so let's fix this, you know, let's write something. And in a couple of hours, if they've been working out with me for a while, in a couple of hours we can solve the problem, get them back pain-free, and their family never even knew they had an injury that day. And this has happened literally, that some women called me on their dog walk because they did something to their ankle, somehow stepped on something, got some crazy thing, couldn't walk back home, texted me from the thing, and then I told them a few things. So they poor doggy, you know, got wound up in a dog park somewhere where they were just trying to stretch this out and figure out what they needed to do. And I gave them some movement exercises, gave them some things to do while they're in the dog park, and then just got themselves out of the pain so that they could get themselves home. That's all I was interested in. Get the doggy and yourself home safely, and then we'll take care of like why this happened in the first place. So those are the
It's amazing how dogs can be detrimental to a lot of us. Mine actually tripped me the other night trying to get him out. He got in between my legs and down to the floor, but you know, it's life. Like, it's just life, you know?
They're just
It's
playing.
just
They don't like, they can't see the 360. Like, oh,
I can't move like that. I'm not a basketball player.
I know.
Okay. No, it's
know.
amazing how like little things, and I just want to point this out, like as we age, especially if you haven't been active for longer periods of time, like you might have been really active in your youth and in your 20s, and then it started winding down in your 30s and 40s. Injuries happen because we might have been overactive when we were younger and then stopped being active now. So the wear and tear wasn't supported by the muscle build because we've lost the muscle. We need to support that. And that's one of the reasons why I was very excited to have you on, was to help get this exercise portion, because it's not about, I mean, it can be about looking great, but it should be about being functional.
Well, that could be a fallout. You know, I've noticed a
Yeah.
lot of clients, you know, that could be a added bonus, that you end up looking good because your estimate of how you looked before was in the non-fit zone. So it has nothing to do with, you know, body image. It has more to do with the fact that you're now toned up and all the muscles are working. So a fallout of having a fit body, what does a fit body mean? And I think when people think about that, they get this incorrect image of being svelty and having this really a body hugging clothes that don't show any body fat. That's not true. That's a really extreme. I mean, you don't even know if they've gone to doctors to get their body at all. You don't know the backstory. You don't know them. You don't know what kind of life they live. So that's really bad when we go by externals. We all know about the external image not being representative of what's going on.
It's not.
So, yeah, but your point is valid, that once you end up doing the practical things to get through your day. Now, you're bringing up a really good point. You know, people who are really active in their youth had some kind of sedentary portion of their life because of circumstances and because they just hate exercise and working out until they felt the need. So again, I point right at the industry because they made the exercise portion make a bad medicine. They made the whole thing like going to the gym was
It's punishment.
Punishment, right? Exactly. So that's where we have to, just like the body image piece and the exercise piece of spot reducing, all these myths have to be busted in the mindset. So we have to work on the mindset first, that, you know, doing reps of some exercise is not a punishment for you. It's building up your muscle group so that when you take the groceries out of the car and turn around, you haven't suddenly hurt yourself so that you can't carry it up the stairs, and now you're in limbo because nobody can hear you and nobody's home, and here you are and you've got this bag of groceries. So I think the point being is that if you go into maintenance mode, which a trainer like myself can give anyone a piece of information that they would need, the minimal amount of things they need to do to keep them so that they can live life without pain, then I think that's the missing piece, and they need to make that the goal. And forget history, because we know even Olympic athletes, and we see them on, you know, kind of advertising products on TV, and we go, wow, he looks different, you know, and he was really really thin and had low body fat when he was when we were watching him on the Olympics. You know, they look very different because that's a whole different ball game of 24/7 lifestyle. They don't have a life. They're just doing this for the
That's all they do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing, I look at exercise, and a lot of what I'm hearing from you as well is a lot of what I teach in the nutrition world. Focus on doing it to feel better and let the appearance be the side effect. the weight loss, the toning, that's the side effect of getting yourself healthy. Exercise is an important part of health.
Right.
But and I love the mindset piece, because that, like, all of us get stuck in our own brains sometimes. I can't do it. It's too hard. It's too much. I don't have the time. And I always tell people, when you keep saying you don't have the time, it means eventually that you just aren't making it a priority, because everybody should be able to find twice a week for 30 minutes. You can squeeze it in somehow. You just have to give up maybe a half hour of TV.
Yeah,
Like,
you hit the nail on the head with that, because I always say to clients, or even myself, if I say I don't have time for something, I just say, well, you seem to have found time to eat lunch. Where did that suddenly appear from?
Yeah.
You were hungry enough to eat lunch, so how come you had time, then, and now you're saying, so I mean, I think time, you're right, is a prioritization game. And if you say you don't have time for something, it just means, I don't think this is important enough. So the piece of the puzzle you have to do is, at that point, is to say to yourself, now, why is this important again? Oh yeah, okay. And then then it becomes,
you've got to make yourself a priority. The bottom line is, and it's one of the things I try to get across more and more, is exercise might not be a priority. Eating healthy might not be a priority. But for you to stay healthy, you're the priority, and you have to do those two things to stay healthy. So
the me and all of this, the thing that's serving the world, the person that's getting up in the morning, the person that's serving, doing all the things that they enjoy or may not enjoy but want to do, you do the things you want to do for a reason. There's always a reason for doing something. It's an end game. And so I think that thing has to work properly. It's like your car. I mean, if your car isn't running, then it doesn't matter, what you're doing, because you can't get anywhere to do all the things you want to do. So we spend time and energy keeping our car running so that we can do all the things. So similarly, we have to work on our own engine, make sure our engine is working properly so that we can do all the things. And giving things a bad name doesn't help, because the history of the fitness industry is that it does make exercise into, as you said, punishment. It makes fitness into a body image problem. It makes it into a clothes fitting problem. It makes it into a what's wrong with you problem, that there's a problem. No, it's the industry hasn't served you, then it's the industry's problem. You find a professional that will help you. You just keep looking, and I'm willing to help anyone. But the thing is that they've got to make that mindset shift to saying that they're important. And if not, then I'd like to know why. Why are you feeling that you're not important? Because that's an important piece too.
That's key, is why don't you think that you're important enough to take care of you?
Yeah, that's important.
That's where we start all having to do the work ourselves. Because
I mean,
I know there's lots of, it's struggle for everyone. It's not, as we're talking here, it's like, I don't want anyone to think that we have it all figured out. It's a struggle for everyone.
Exactly. It's a work in progress. I mean, even you can ask any fitness professional about their own workouts and their own sleep schedule and their own nutrition, and they will tell you that that's a work for them too. Just because they're knowledgeable about it doesn't mean that they've got it figured out for themselves. They just know how to dole out the information for others so that they can supply the world with the information it needs to help their clients be that person they need to be in a safe manner. So safety is another thing. People can say, I can get a workout on the internet. Sure, you can, but you can also go to your doctor's office the next day because you heard something. And let me tell you, doctors these days are very strapped, and they're not going to be able to help you. They will send you to a chiropractor, physio, or a massage therapist. And unfortunately, they will not send you to a rehab trainer, which is what I am. But the point being here is that they just don't have the bandwidth to say, what exactly is wrong with you? You got pain, go to a pain specialist. I mean, one of these traditional points of contact, but a rehab trainer can probably fix your problem in less time, because the modality of chiropractors, physiotherapists, and massage therapists is that they will only do a temporary fix. And they will give you a set of exercises for you to practice on. And then there's that bad word again, exercises. And they will not motivate you. They're not going to call you after. There's no accountability. Your problem. So with my fitness model, what I do is I assess. I give them what can fit in their life. That's another thing. And if what they need can't fit in their life, then we have another conversation. What they need, maybe something else, or what their desire to be, their end goal might need to be modified. These are all important things to keep in mind. And I also provide one of the key pieces that women over 50 I find need is accountability. That's one of my biggest things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need someone to talk to. In some cases, they get healthy just by having this conversation with me. In fact, all it takes is a few sessions, and we find from unraveling that we both tend to understand that all it was a conversation. Nobody's listening to me, and all of a sudden somebody's listening to me, and somehow that seems to help as well. So there's many pieces to this puzzle that need to be unraveled.
Absolutely. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I probably will be in touch maybe to have you back in a few months to see how things are going or what else you can offer my listeners. Where can anybody find you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. My website is getshanti.com. That's GETSHANTI.com. And they can get me on Instagram at Over 50 Fitness with Hema. And that's my Instagram handle, and they can see where my posting is there. I have a course coming up in the new year called Path to Being Pain-Free. If any of you are suffering from pain issues and you're in the over 50 demographic, I encourage you to look that up. That is on my website as well. As also, I am offering a Black Friday 20% off that course price in case people are interested. And that promotion will come on my Instagram handle, so they can catch me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. I've learned a lot. I hope everybody else has. And I look forward to talking. I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Jolene. Nice talking.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening in today. I hope you got some nuggets to take on your health journey. Remember, this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes. No medical advice is being given. By listening to this podcast, you agree to the full disclaimer, which is linked in the show notes. If you found this podcast helpful, could you take 30 seconds and leave a review? Your feedback means the world to me, and it helps others discover my show. Once again, thank you for being part of my community. Until next time, have a blessed day.